Hello, friends, again on Easter. So, I'm going to start doing a series about what I've been through, the abuse that I've been through in my life. I just want to put it somewhere. So, you know, my mom came back with dad's car that night, and I had a feeling because I know my uncle's wife and what a sociopath she was. And I found those in there. And I ran downstairs to try to throw them in the washer, which was a stupid thing to do. And my mother had been watching me. She knew I had them. And of course, she wanted to blame my father, and that led to divorce. But as always, I tried to mitigate the damages, tried to save my family. And I was early 20s then, probably. But there was no saving. I mean, my own grandmother was plotting against me, trying to destroy my parents' marriage, all for the sake of her baby son. And that was just one of the many things that woman did to cause trouble in our house. I mean, every day she called with something new to get my grandmother to do something for Jerry. Even money. She would call and say they didn't have any money. And then my grandmother would have a fit and begged my mother to give it to her until she did, so mortgages weren't paid. And I've seen my mother just cry so hard because of all the trouble this woman was causing, trying to hurt us for God knows what reason. And I was no match for her. I was no match for that devious mind of hers. I remember one day, after many times that my mother had bought Jessica, who was a 4-year-old child, Jerry's first daughter, by another woman, dresses. And my uncle's wife would take those dresses when Jessica was wearing them and give her something really messy to eat so they would get all dirty, and then she would wash them. And Jessica would never get them back again. And one day we were all sitting around the dining room table, and this woman said to me and to the family, I'm going to take Jessica home and give her a whore bath because she's too much like her mother. Oh, that made me so mad. I looked right at her and I said, well, you are to be good at that. And then my uncle was saying, why don't we put Patty and Ricky outside and let them have at it, see who wins. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to jail over her. I'm not going to fight her. And that was another thing I couldn't stand back then, the way that the children were used for revenge. Children, there was no limit to what this woman would do for vengeance. The hell I went through in the house, watching my parents' marriage crumble, watching my own grandmother, trying to destroy my parents' marriage, and they succeeded. They succeeded. And meanwhile, I was touring with agents and trying to be a singer, and they were even trying to destroy that, and they did. We lost everything. And I had to move to Grand Rapids and work and live in a 1-bedroom apartment and pay rent all by myself. I had no one, but Grand Rapids was the best time of my life. It was.